about this love. About this. About this love. About this love. Love. How you guys doing today? We're coming at you about this love another week. Thank you for riding with us as we continue on season 2. Today's topic is living out your decisions. It's just a continuation of episode 3 with my wife. We're gonna, I'll do one, and then she'll hop on it with me, and we'll do a continuation. If you haven't kind of been already seeing the flow that we've been doing things. Also, don't forget to follow us on Facebook About This Love, Instagram About This Love. Please comment, on our Facebook page, and just join in with us on the conversation as we continue on from the podcast to the Facebook conversation. And also, you can listen to our audios podcast on Audio Mac, Facebook, video, and YouTube. Okay, let's get into it. Again, my name is Dell, and I'm here with my wife, Charel. Say what's up to the peoples.
What's up, peoples?
So today, my wife, she's going to start us off living out your decisions.
I'm gonna start us off with this.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know how I'm going to start us off when you had already started the conversation. And I know you always leave people with questions to answer. So hopefully, if you didn't hear the previous week's episode, please go back and listen to it. We'll leave a link in the description to that previous episode. So like you said before, pause right here, go back, listen to it. But even if you don't and you've already clicked on this one, then you could just stay here and just continue to listen. But, last week you talked about living out the decisions, and listening back on it, it's very interesting because you were talking about how, a bad decision, like you had made a bad decision that ultimately affected you wanting to make a shift in your life, a lifestyle change. You no longer wanted to commit crime. You didn't want to be doing hood rat stuff with your friends.
Put me on blast.
You put yourself on blast, dude. You
said crimes. I committed a crime. I ain't committing no crimes.
If you did one, you probably did 20. Who's to say, what was going to stop you from doing another crime? You know what? I'm not going to say that. I was about to bust myself out. You the criminal, not me. But no.
Listen to yourself, huh?
No, if you think you can get away with something, you'll do it, There was
That's human nature.
Yeah, there was this lady, it was a documentary I watched on Netflix. She was 95, I believe, when they followed her around. And she had been stealing. She had been a thief her entire life. She made a career out of it. And it was to the point where, they were making it into an illness. I know her last name was Payne. Maybe her name was Doris Payne. I don't remember the title of the documentary, but
told the Bama name and everything. Man.
They tell her name. She's done time, but they let her out in 2 years. Out of all the things that she's done, I think that they finally caught her because of the cameras. And, they said, well, she's a sweet old lady. So after she had gotten a lady from, I believe it's Macy's, she had gotten her fired or whatever. And the lady, had a sad sob story of you affected my life. I lost my job and everything because of you. And I think the first day that woman got out, they let her out because she was supposed to do life. And she was 92, I believe. But she was supposed to do life. And they let her out 2 years early because of the overpopulation of the, the jails, of prisons. And then, I think her first day out, she had robbed another jewelry store. And it was just well, dang. She had been living that lifestyle for so long. And the thrill of it, I don't know if they caught her or what happened, but towards the end of the documentary, they did show that, she got let out because of early behavior. Got let out early because of good behavior. And then her first day out, she was robbing another jewelry store.
Hey,
they were
it's a habit.
Yeah. And so I was thinking back to what you were saying just about how almost getting caught, that was kind of that breaking point for you. But for others, it's almost let's say drug addicts, or I won't even say drug addicts, but drug users. And
that would make you an addict, wouldn't it?
I mean, not necessarily so. Yes, to a degree, but people who use it recreationally, or people who do things like socially. Uh,
Like,
okay, Dale.
I smoke
Oh
crack every
God,
day,
I
but I
knew it
don't
was
want to,
coming.
I don't want to be called a crackhead. It's like, okay.
I looked away because I knew you had a comment to make.
Nah, I mean, I feel you. Go ahead, continue on. I apologize.
Nah, you already said it. You got it out. It's cool. But no, I was just thinking, what, for some people, what would be your breaking point? Like, what point would you get to, without the, I guess, without the Lord inserting himself into, what it is you're doing to show you that there's another way or that this thrill isn't what you think it is. What will be that breaking point for most people? Because for you, I mean, people been living their life committing crimes. It's like, I grew up around, this lifestyle. Um, but for you, it just seemed like that one incident is what kind of knocked you off that path.
I mean, I was already pondering,
Mm.
um, pondering, doing different things. Just didn't know what it was. Like I said, it wasn't Lord because how I even found out about the Job Corps. Speaking about drugs, because it was somebody who uses drugs who told me about the Job Corps program.
It's
And
not funny, but I'm
and
glad he
how
told you.
what was it? It wasn't he, but
Okay, or
and
she.
how that person's neighbor son had went to Job Corps and ended up in the Navy, and now he was doing good in life and had wife and children. So it was the Lord how I even found out about the program, and in the time it was free. All you had to do was write a paragraph, and had to do a background check, and they sent a bus to come and get you, and then you was on your way to
They
Job
sent a
Corps.
buster to come and get
A
you?
bus, yeah, they
Oh, a
send you
bus.
a bus to
Oh,
come and get you. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So for me, it was just an opportunity. It was just an opportunity. It was a way. It was a way out of my current environment, which I didn't really think I would ever get out of it. As I look back now, because oftentimes when you're in certain environments, it almost seems as if it's hopeless, as if you'll never get out. So oftentimes, the last thing on your mind is living out is having to live out your decisions, because you're thinking, man, I might not even be able to, I might not be even living tomorrow. So the heck with living out my decisions. I ain't gonna be here tomorrow. But but unfortunately, if that happens and you're here tomorrow, I just pray that you wouldn't find yourself in a jail cell, or in a situation that you couldn't get yourself out of. So I just think for a lot of people, you know, just the thought of hopelessness,
Mm.
would actually prevent people from actually thinking about tomorrow. So that's just
Well, I think,
insert.
yeah, but I think that can go for good and bad decisions that we make in life that we have to live out. Prime example, I would say. So you gave the example of maybe doing something bad in life, or just doing something that's just not, that can affect other people's lives, them losing their lives, other people getting hurt, or even your life, not your life, but you as the listener, like your life, you ending up in jail,
Hmm.
or someone or love ending up, just in a really bad situation, or even facing death. But even a good decision, I think that a lot of our peers, or even the image that they push for our peers, is that, yeah, make the decision to go after your career. And I don't think that's a bad decision, but if you don't got nothing else going on in life, you hadn't seen a different way, you can see yourself out of poverty. Well, go and pursue a career, a good career at that. And that's not a bad decision, but you still have to live with it. And then you could work your way up the ladder, and you make good pay in, like, what, 5 to 7 years, and you're a CEO or you're a partner
In
or
5 to 7 years, you're CEO. It's gonna be a little longer than that.
I mean, okay, depending on what company that you're working for or what career you pursued. I mean, that's still something you would have to live out if you started on that. Well, I wouldn't say you have to live out, because the Lord can come and excuse me,
Intercede.
intercede. My nose got a little stuffy. Intercede um, on your behalf and just come and change that whole plan. But um, before that happens, or before you see that, taking place in your life, it's almost like, well, dang, you may sit down one day, get home after a long day, you know, I don't know, working at a hospital or working in a law office, and it's like, shoot, I made this decision to become a doctor or to become a lawyer, and I have this, I have to do this. I can't just up and leave. I can't just up and stop, the work that I've done thus far. People are counting on me, just as far as my clients or these lives that I've encountered. um they're looking for me to like go and heal them or go and change their lives in one way or another. And I think that right there can be a lot for people. That could be pressure.
Yeah.
um and they may not see that there's other ways that they can impact people's lives because they love what they do. And so, but the pressure of the job itself could be a decision that they have to live with. You know what I'm saying? Like, so in order, you get what I'm saying, Dale?
I'm kind of following you. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe if I give you a more practical example, like let's say we go out and start a nonprofit for, I don't know, homeless woman, and we want to, I don't know, work with the state or something. And it's like, well, dang, I know these 5 to 12 women who have children who are battered, and I want to go out and, I don't know, I promise them I want to go and, you know, help them out, help them with a different, I don't know, help them get off the street, help them, get on their feet. But it's like, well, dang, how can I do that? I mean, I don't think that that's a bad decision to, I wouldn't say make that commitment, but I don't think it's a bad decision to go in that direction. But it's like, okay, now I have to walk that out.
Yeah.
Now I have to follow through. What can I pull together to follow that through? To follow through with that commitment that I've made to these 12 women, you know,
Or find somebody to take your place.
and that too. But, if we see no hope, sometimes if we see no way, I hate to say no way out, but if we see no other way to get things done, I feel like you could be tied down even with the good decisions that we've made. Um, you know, so where do you turn to? I guess that's where I'm leading to my question of where do you turn to when you feel like you've been backed into a corner with the decision that you've made?
I mean, I would say that. I mean, I know me. I look to the Lord. I can't speak for the next person. Because I've been there. I've been there before. I think right before I met you. I felt like my back was against the wall. As it relates to the career choice that I was in, and it came to the point where I didn't like going to work anymore. I just didn't like what I was doing. It wasn't that it wasn't that it was anything was wrong with it. I just didn't like doing it anymore. I wanted to do something different. And I made a step, in faith and applied for a different job within my within the company that I work for. And 4 or 5 years later, I'm still in that other position. And it's I it's going pretty good, and I'm actually just applying for another position to go somewhere else. So I know for me, I mean, I don't know, I know for me, like I said, I just pray about it, and I know that the Lord gives us wisdom, because I know oftentimes I feel like, and I'm a kind of pivot real quick, but sometimes I feel like people, believers, they kind of pray to God, and they want God to give them a decision, or they want God to tell them what to do. And the Lord's like, "Well, I've given you the wisdom and the knowledge to know what to do,
And free
or
will.
the decision. Yeah, the decision is really up to you. You just have to live out that decision, whether good or bad. And it's not that the decision is bad as much more as it is. It's like we want God. Hey, God, tell me to go left. Like they want somebody in their life to tell them where to go. That way, when things kind of blow up in their face, they have somebody to blame. So I know for me, yeah, it was a big decision to jump out in faith and pursue another career, because I had to go back to school again within that trade, and had to learn a whole another trade again. Even now, when I apply for another position within a company, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to do it all over again. I'm gonna have to start from the bottom, start from the bottom, go back to schooling for that specific department, or trade within a company. And I mean, it's frustrating, but it's like ultimately I'm the kind of person I don't want to 2-3 years from now regret not making a decision that I know I should have made. So even if it means me having to live out the consequences of that decision, I can live with that. You know what I'm saying? And I know me personally, and you know me as your husband, I don't make haphazard decisions anyways. So it's like, whatever decision that you make, just make sure you put some thought into it. And if you need to, get counseling, from somebody who was much mature than yourself. I ain't talking about your friends and them who ain't, don't have much going for them, or who don't, or who are always giving you bad advice. I like to call them Debbie Downers, but you go to somebody who's mature, who will be positive and of a sound mind, and get their perspective if you're not able to come up with one, on your own.
It's funny you say that. Going to someone who's more mature and not going to your Debbie Downer friends, because you always like to say, "Man, you hating on this, you hating on that," or you always got something negative to say. And I'm just like, well, no, I don't see it as me being negative when I see a situation kind of just come across my radar. I'm just like, well, did they really think that through? Like, are they thinking about the full picture? And I felt like I get that from you because, I mean, I was that one a few years ago, like prior to us getting married. I felt like I was that one who was kind of like, well, at one point, I felt like
You said a few years ago. We've been together for over half a decade now, Charel. Come on,
we hadn't been together for after. Okay, if that make you feel better.
Yeah, a few years ago.
I mean, yeah, it does feel like a lifetime.
I've known you for longer than a few years, so you have to go back a little farther than a few years.
Dale, just go with it, man. Just go with it. Anyway, there was a point in my life where I felt like, God only says three things: yes, no, or wait. You've heard that, right? Like, God only says three things: yes, no, or wait. And if he ain't saying nothing, then that means just wait. And you'd be sitting there like, well, God, well, one, I remember someone had asked me, well, I mean, what does God sound like to you then? And I was just like, and I thought that was such a great question, because it was like, is God audible? Does God, speak to you, through dreams, or do you just feel something? Do you feel something in your spirit, or how does God really communicate with you? And I think that question allowed me to sit back and say, you know what, Lord, like, how is it that I know I'm hearing from you? Because a lot of times I would make decisions where it's kind of like, you know what, I'm not thinking this fully through, but I'm gonna step out on faith. And oftentimes it played out for the better, to my benefit, but that was because I felt like I was making this decision based on, what, the Lord's going to catch me if I fall. And because I was the type of person who was like, well, I mean, I don't think I heard the Lord say yes, no, or wait. But when something was to come up, then it's just kind of like, well, I guess that's a no. And I think that in certain aspects of life, sometimes you do get a clear cut sign from the Lord of like, nah, this is not what I have you to do. This is what I want you to focus on. And then because there's free will, we can say, well, you know what? I really want to do something else. But it's not as though that we wouldn't feel urged, and the Lord will move on. And it's not as though we wouldn't feel that urge to, you know what? There's things that was on my heart and I don't want it to pass me by. So I do want to pursue what the Lord has put on my heart. But I think it goes back to, submitting to the Lord, your plans. Yeah. Your plans. And I think that what does our good friend Amadi always say to us? Like, at least make that first step, and the Lord can always redirect you.
Yeah. The Lord can always redirect you if you're moving, but if standing still. He's like, it's hard to move somebody. It's hard to move somebody who's moving that's standing still. But if they're moving, you can always you grab an arm or shoulder and move them in a different direction. But if they're standing still, you really can't move them anywhere, or it's much difficult to move them, But there's actually a scripture in Proverbs that says, man makes his plans, but the Lord directs his steps. So basically it's saying like, yeah, I can make a plan, but just being open to allowing the Lord to pivot whatever decision I was going to do or change direction, if need be, or if he sees fit,
Yeah. I think that's so true, because there's plenty of times where, we've planned to do something and it's just kind of like, nah, that's not what's going to happen. Like, with us selling our second car, it was kind of like, yeah, well, maybe by the end of summer, we're going to get a new car. And it's like, I don't know, 2-3 months after summer has ended. And it's kind of like, whoop, still don't have a car. And it's not for no reason, of course. Like, we've had to kind of go back to the drawing board, and we're like, okay, Lord, what have you shifted in our life where, this is not our goal right now? And I think that's a good, at the time, I thought it was a great decision to sell my car. I was just like, well,
it was becoming a money pit.
Yeah, it was a money pit. I didn't want it to take away from our household bills anymore. And I said, well, hey, we can work around, the schedule. And for a while, we didn't think it would work, but then it's been working out. You know why? Because we've made it work. I mean, there's just things that I may have had to, or we may have had to miss out on, some fun things or hanging out because our schedules, have been conflicting. Or I may have had to say, ask a friend, like, hey, do you mind picking me up, or taking an Uber? And it's just like, well, that's just what we're going to have to do. I had an event that I had to work for, and I had to rent a car. And it was just kind of like, well, if we had a car, and it's like, well, we don't have a car. So that's a decision that we actually had to live out, and we're still living out, like, right now. And that doesn't mean that it's a good or a bad thing. But for those major decisions, like, I mean, for those major decisions, that's a little bit harder to, I guess, like, process or work through.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it that, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Maybe I should take a sip of water. Excuse me.
No, if I'm understanding what you're saying, it's just saying, like, doing what you have to do and just being able to live out that, being able to live with that decision, whatever it is, whether it's choosing to pick up and move an hour away, so you're choosing to go to a better school, choosing to move the next state so you can get a better career. I mean, whatever it is, it's fine. But just being able to live out that decision. I know on my previous podcast, I just spoke about. I talked a lot about a lot of the things I spoke about were just bad decisions, and I would like to say I was speaking more to younger people who tend to just to do things haphazardly and not think about the outcome. Like I said, I've met a lot of young ladies over the course of the years before I met my wife, who I considered dating, but I actually did not, because their decision making to me just wasn't really up to snuff. It's like, and it's not to judge them, but it's like, I'm getting to know you, we friends, you got 2 and 3 kids by 2 and 3 different dudes. That lets me know off the rip that your decision making probably ain't really where it should be. And I'm not judging the fact that you have children. I'm just judging the fact that you have children by three different men. If you'd had 3 kids by one dude, hey, I can live with that. But you got 3 kids by three different dudes. That just lets me know that off the rip, your decision making really isn't too good as far as I'm concerned. With and I may be 100% wrong, but that's just my opinion, and that's just what I view things like. I've met young ladies that I've met who've confided in me, but like, right now I'm in between different guys. I'm messing with a married dude, and I'm messing with a guy that I want to marry, but he don't want to be with me. But it's like, wow, your decision making ability, it's not there. You know what I'm saying? And I always talk to people, whether it's young men and young women, and give them the counsel that I feel like was from the Lord. But one of the things that I've learned as I've gotten older, I've learned just to be quiet. But people gonna do what they want to do. Oftentimes, because when I was young, I did what I wanted to do. Somebody could tell me, "Hey, son, don't go over there and do that because A, B, C, and D won't happen. You can bump your head, bruise your head, whatever." I went over here and did it anyways. So one of the things that I've realized now is much more is just telling people, "Hey, A, B, and C, these are gonna happen, but then this was gonna happen." And 9 times out of 10, "Hey man, you said that was gonna happen. I mean, how'd you know?" I know because I can see things coming from a mile away. You know what I'm saying? When you choose to make bad decisions and really not put full thought into what you do, the consequences are bad. It's a bad outcome. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I knew a young lady who really didn't have good decision making skills as it came to men, and 2 or 3 kids later, she has what, 2 extra kids. When I knew where she
Wait,
had,
how do you have 2 extra kids?
well, I'm sorry, when I knew where she had a child, now she has 2 more children. But what I'm saying is I knew she always had a desire to be married, but unfortunately, and I'm not saying anything bad about people who have children and things like that. But what I'm saying is oftentimes when you meet young men and young women who have multiple children by multiple people, it's a clear indication that they don't have very good decision making skills as it relates to picking a spouse or a mate.
Well,
That is a clear sign.
well, let me ask you this, and I'm gonna make this quick because I know that we want to keep these podcasts kind of short and just leave room for conversation to happen like off air. But what do you think would be that determining factor of her making a bad decision versus the guy that she chose, to, I guess, that she chose to be with or have the child by, she thought, or he could have promised her that he was going to be with her. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I do.
I understand.
Well, I actually do know people who have kind of like pinned a child on a person. There was actually a story that recently came out that was this woman who wanted to just have a child. And so she got herself pregnant. And yes, I said that right. She was a hotel maid. I don't want to missay that, but she was a maid in this hotel, and she figured the guy was a millionaire, and she found some leftover, you know, specimens in the trash can and impregnated herself.
That's disgusting, yo. That is disgusting.
just
Duke could have had full blown AIDS.
Oh gosh, not half AIDS but whole AIDS.
It's disgusting, yo.
But either way,
that's disgusting. Yo. I don't even want to hear this right now.
No, but listen. She made the decision to get herself pregnant, and they actually awarded her child support after she admitted that she didn't even sleep with the guy. And so it was just kind of like, okay. But I know people in real life who, after the guy has said, like, no, I don't want to be with you, like, and they've clearly moved on, engaged to somebody else, and it's like, but you're going to go ahead and have kids by this person and then try to form a relationship out of that. And I'm just like, that I think, is that different than, well, I'll say this. I know that's different than someone who leads on a female, because what you said was her decision making wasn't good.
Here's what I say, and then I'll just end it there because we can go on about this all day.
Okay.
And maybe we will in another podcast. But everything a person says to you, even when you go to interview for a job, they promise you A, B, C, and D, and then you they mean it because you get it when they say you get it. Okay, every year you get a raise, A, B, C, and D. After 3 months, you get dental, vision, and healthcare. Okay, boom, boom, boom. When you get that, That's how you know they mean business. When you and the problem that I have with someone leading you on is, in order to lead me on, or in order for you to lead me on, there has to be some type of action behind what you're saying. So you can't just keep telling me the same thing for 2 years and we say, oh yeah, no, he didn't lead you on. You wanted to be in this illusion or illusion world, because it's like, after a while, I need to see some type of proof behind what you're saying. So for me, it just goes back to what I said before, and I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying it's bad decision making skills is what it is. Because you don't have the ability to see that. Okay, I hear what you're saying, but what you're saying is different than what I'm actually seeing, what you're actually showing me. So at some point, you have to be like, this person's full of crap, because what they're doing isn't matching what they're saying. So that's what I mean when I'm saying this
person is full of crap.
It's just bad decision making skills, because that's kind of just 1-on-1. Children would tell you. My son would tell me, "Well, you told me that," and he's 6 years old. At 6 years old, he knows that, well, you told me this and you didn't do it. So as an adult, I'm fully sure or fully aware that as an adult, that's a skill that I should have. Whether or not I choose to use it or not is another thing. But as an adult, that's a skill you have well within your grasp, is to see, okay, I hear what you're saying, but it is what you are doing lining up with what you're saying to me. And if it's not, then they're not leading you on, because the actions are not lining up with what they're saying. So I mean, to me, and this, like I said, this can be a whole other discussion, a whole other podcast discussion within itself, and I think it probably will be, because there's so many ways you can go with this. But just to kind of bring it back around third base, with just living out the decisions that you choose. Is there anything you wanted to just end with? I didn't want to.
Any closing remarks that I had? No, I thought that was a really good example, because our son does definitely, he'll definitely say, well, Mommy, you said that you were going to do A, B, C, D, and E. Why didn't you do it? And, it's like, well, dang, he's absolutely right. And we have to live with that decision of letting the other person down. And I think for older people, not children, but for older people, like, we have to live with those decisions of listening to someone who doesn't keep their word. So I just wanted to close with that. Just, who in our lives, or trying to look for those in our lives who actually keep their word to us, whether it be our employer, friends, family, are we keeping our word to our children? And if we're not, like, what decisions are we making that is, that priority supersedes what exactly? And whether it be a good or bad decision, we have to live with that, because we have free will, and because those are the choices that we have made. Among other things that happen in life, we hope that you make a good decision and like, share, and
follow us
Facebook, on About This Love,
Instagram,
on Facebook and
Audio
Instagram.
Mac.
And on Audio Mac.
Share, like, and please leave us reviews. Let us know how we're doing, and if there are topics that you would like for us to touch on, please, let us know, and we'll definitely do our research, have a conversation about them, and possibly do it. Thank you.
And possibly do it. Yeah.
Till next time, peace.